into Real Shame, a show where we talk about our list of movie blind spots. My name's Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And on Monday, we talked about a movie that was on my list of movie blind spots, list of shame, called Ruthless People, which had Danny DeVito, Bette Midler, and a big cast of comedic actors. Adam decided to pair that with another Danny DeVito film. What film, pray tell, are we talking about today?
All right. A put upon mama's boy wants his mother dead and misinterprets that his teacher wants his former spouse dead in Throw Momma from the Train.
Because in a novel, people have to have more of a reason to commit a murder. If they just do it because they're crazy, it's not enough. It's not strong enough, not for a novel.
You mean if someone wounds you permanently, then you could murder them?
Yes, which brings us to the second point. The motive, you have to eliminate it.
Eliminate the motive.
Correct. I'll give you an example. My ex-wife. I hate her guts, right?
Yeah, I overheard you in the cafeteria. She really ruined you.
Yes, she did, and I hate her with a passion, Owen, but I would never murder her.
And you get caught.
Absolutely right. I would get caught because I have a motive, and people know that.
I got a similar problem with my mama.
Well, look at this, Owen. This is amazing. You and I have something in common.
Throw Momma from the Train came out in 1987. It's written by Stu Silver. If I can say that.
Stu Silver.
It's Stu Silver sells seashells by the seashore. And directed by Danny DeVito. Yes, Danny DeVito has directed this and other movies.
Yes.
He's not just an actor. He's not just the Penguin, guys. Silver has not done a lot of films. He's done a lot of TV, including Webster and It's a Living. And DeVito, some of the movies he's directed, War of Roses, Matilda, and Death to Smoochie.
Death to Smoochie.
Of those, I've only seen one. I think I've seen Matilda. Throw Momma from the Train stars Danny DeVito as Owen. Billy Crystal as Larry. We haven't really done any Billy Crystal kind of movies for the show, and I feel like he's a big talent that we haven't. Wait, was he in? No, that's Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks was in the
Punchline.
Yeah. So Billy Crystal, Kim Greist as Beth.
She's in Punchline.
She's in Punchline. Anne Ramsey as Mama, Kate Milgrew as Margaret, and Rob Reiner. I always like seeing Rob Reiner in movies as Joel. Throw Momma from the Train is a movie that I've never seen, but it's not my week, so you guys don't care about that. And it sounds like from the last episode, it is a movie you've seen before.
Yeah.
So what do you remember about Throw Momma from the Train, and what do you think about it this time around?
I saw this movie in theaters.
Oh, wow.
Back in the 80s. So it came out, it looks like in December of 1987. I probably saw it, I guess, in December, somewhere thereabouts. Because this movie's not rated R, I believe it's PG. I was younger at the time. I was technically not.
It was PG-13 because I read in the trivia that he cut it down from like 3 F words to just 1. Okay. So it can make that PG-13.
Technically, I was not PG-13. I was not 13, but I still was able to go see the movie. They weren't cracking down at my theater.
They didn't care.
So I went in and I did see this movie, and I was like, this sucks. I was not a fan of this film. Again, I mean, seeing as a kid, it's always a little different. You just don't have the world experience. But I didn't find it funny. I just thought it was weird, right? And it's more of a dark comedy, and I don't think I quite got that concept at that time. So I was like, this is stupid. I knew who Danny DeVito was. I knew who Billy Crystal was. I was like, this sucks. So I didn't really think much about it, and I actually revisited it between 5 and 10 years ago. Okay, pretty sure, because I thought, I remember seeing this in the theater. I remember I didn't like it. I'm gonna give it another go. So I watched it again. I still didn't like it. Still didn't think it was very good.
All right, so it was the third time a charm?
I would say the third time is actually the charm.
Oh, wow.
But I'm not as over the moon about this as I was like Ruthless People, for example, on Monday. I think this movie, it's not like super, super laugh out loud funny. There's not a lot that I just found myself really, really laughing at. But it's kind of weirdness won me over this time. It's weird overall kind of shtick that it has going for it. I finally just let it kind of take me where it needed to take me. So I would say I'm favorable on this film now. But again, it wasn't just as gut bustingly funny as I feel like Ruthless People was, but it was good in its own little way. I did want to mention. So you mentioned the main cast. I thought it was cool seeing Branford Marsalis because he does not do a lot of acting. He's a saxophone player, and he's Billy Crystal's buddy in the movie.
Oh, yeah,
He
okay.
doesn't have a whole lot of
Yeah.
scenes, but I was like, wow, I didn't even know Branford Marsalis ever really did any acting. So I thought that was cool because like he played the saxophone on the Do the Right Thing soundtrack. He's in that soundtrack a lot. But yeah, he's
I didn't
always
know that.
behind the scenes. So seeing him in an acting role, I thought was cool. And then Anne Ramsey, who plays Danny DeVito's mother, of course, everybody knows her as Mama Fratelli from The Goonies.
That's where I know her from.
And if you've seen Deadly Friends, she gets her head like basically demolished by a basketball, which is pretty funny. But Superman 3 has a lady in it named Annie Ross, and I always used to get Annie Ross and Anne Ramsey confused. A, they have the same initials.
Yeah.
And B, I don't know that they look super alike, but to like an idiot like me, they did kind of look alike. At least like a long time ago, they looked alike.
Yeah.
So I used to always think they were the same person. Well, Annie Ross is also in this movie. She's in Billy Crystal's class.
Okay.
She's basically reading the story where she's like, and they got on the submarine and they rang the thingy, and and he's like, it's a good idea to know what what the components of the sub are before you're doing it. That's Annie Ross.
Okay.
So yeah, she's in Superman 3. She's in other stuff, but those are the only two things that I can think of.
Is she the secretary? No, she's not. No, never mind.
In
I'm thinking
Superman
of
3.
Luther's
In Superman
secretary.
3, she's Robert Vaughn's sister. So she's one of the bad guys.
Gotcha.
And she gets turned into like a weird robot looking thing like at the end. It's very, very strange. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. But overall I think that the weird kind of tone I kind of got more into it now. There's a lot of nods to Hitchcock, obviously, because the movie kind of cribs off of
Strangers on a Train,
right? I mean, he goes to see Strangers on a Train in the movie. Yeah, Crisscross. He keeps playing that in his head. But there's a few scenes that I wanted to point out that have direct kind of references to Hitchcock. So when he's going to kill Kate Mulgrew's character and he puts on the gloves, the kind of glove POV, I'm pretty sure that's used in at least probably more than one, but at least one Hitchcock film where you kind of see it from like this angle where he's got like and then there's like a part where the camera kind of spins around to disorient you. Hitchcock used that in several films. There's actually same scene when he's about to, you think, kill Kate Mulgrew, and in reality she just falls off the ship on her own. The music kind of crescendos, and where you think there's going to be like some kind of whistle, it cuts to a lady like kind of laugh screaming. It does the same thing in a Hitchcock film. Like there's I think it's a woman turns to scream to the camera, and just as she opens her mouth, it cuts to a train going, like blowing or whatever. So it's very rhythmic in that way. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And the other thing that I really liked was the cinematography by Barry Sonnenfeld, because he shot a lot of the Coen Brothers early movies. Yeah. And there's a lot of cinematography in this, especially the car not car chase, but the car scene where Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito are like driving through the woods. It reminded me so much of Raising Arizona, because there's a big chase scene in that with Nicolas Cage driving in the truck and everything. So I liked that part of it. But yeah, I mean, I would say overall, the weird kind of dark comedy finally won me over this time around. So I did like it overall. I thought it was pretty good.
It pummeled you until you liked it.
It did. What did you think about it?
This was just a tough week for me, man. I didn't really care for this one either. I didn't find it that funny.
I didn't either the first two times I saw it. So
yeah, maybe I just got to get 2 more times under my belt before I find it funny. I mean, I kind of found parts of it interesting and stuff like that, but again, it was just so, it felt wacky and zany in some parts and stuff like that. And it was just really hard because Owen's character is just so, like, he's infantile in the way he kind of reasonings and sees things. Yeah. And it's just so, like, it's hard to kind of, for me to follow with that and stuff like that. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just like his perspective on the world is so childish and stuff like that. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and I guess, I don't know. So that was just difficult. It was a difficult character for me to.
I have a family member, not an immediate family member, but I have a family member that is a lot like him. So it was easy for me to see.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The only time I laughed this week including Monday's movie and this movie, was similar to the part where he's gonna push her off and his hands are like this.
Yeah.
Or his hands are like this because he's gonna choke her. And then he sees her like leaning over and his hands just go like this.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Like that made me laugh. I was
Right.
like, okay, that's hilarious.
Right.
But other than that, yeah, it just I don't know. It didn't it just wasn't for me. It just was, and I didn't. The other thing I didn't like was Billy Crystal's almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Like he's almost like how he always like he hears his wife's name Margaret and he starts like slut and he says it almost like he has Tourette syndrome.
Yeah.
Like his Tourette-esque response. I don't know, maybe calling it Tourette's is not correct, but his response to hearing her name just like it just felt so over the top and so I mean it's supposed to be a comedy, but it just felt so over the top that it was just more annoying and grating than anything else. You know what I mean?
I don't think that kind of stuff is funny, but I just chalk it up to that's Billy Crystal. That's like his humor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he thinks it's funny, and there's plenty of people that are fans of his that think that it's funny, so he does it because it works. But yeah, that stuff doesn't really work for me.
Because I mean, I guess like the stuff I remember seeing him in the most was like the City Slicker movies, and I thought those were funny, but I guess he wasn't like that. So I don't know. I'm not trying to spend too much time harping on a movie that just didn't work for me this time around. So it wasn't anything I really. This week, both movies were slog for me to get through for sure.
So what is a good comedy to you? I'm curious.
Yeah, you don't think have I not liked any comedies?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like what is it? These are bad examples of comedies to you. What's a good example? I don't mean to put you on the spot. While you're thinking about that,
I mean, I remember like the funniest movie I ever saw was There Was Something About Mary. Like I was literally in the theater keeling over with laughter, like I couldn't catch my breath. Like
that's a good.
When I saw that the first time, it was hilarious. And I wish it's one of those movies I wish I can kind of like delete the memory of and rewatch it because I want to have that same sensation.
Yeah, and
stuff like that. So I would, and you know, like I said, I like a lot of the Zucker movies that we did. Like I think Airplane's pretty funny, and I really like the Naked Gun movies. Like I think those are hilarious. So I do like comedies. Maybe
I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying you don't. So I would say again. I'm not saying I'm begrudgingly kind of liking this movie. I mean, it really did. I thought it was decent. You know, seeing it this time around. You know, it kind of finally won me over. My biggest complaints about the movie is I do wish it had more. And I have no idea how you say her last name. I had no idea how to say it whenever we watched Punchline. Greased or Greist, Kim Greist, something like that. Greased is the word. Kim Greist. Because I like her. She basically was in a lot of stuff in the 80s and like kind of into the 90s and then just retired. Like, so I don't think she's done anything in a long time. But I always like her typically in the movies that she's in. And she's not a huge part of Punchline, but she is in it. She's not a huge part of this movie, but she is in it. I wish that she was utilized maybe a bit more. I also kind of wish that they utilized Billy Crystal's class a little bit more because I like all those like little characters that are in it. They're kind of funny. And then whenever he does finally go to stay with Owen, that part really kind of drags for me. Yeah. And then they finally get on the train, and then, you know, it's kind of basically the movie kind of ends. But it's very kind of, action packed or a little more action packed until that part happens, and then it slows down.
I was very worried that there wasn't going to be a train at all in this movie.
It doesn't look like it.
It doesn't look
like it. It's only at the very end. Does it happen? But
so I read on trivia that Anne Ramsey's only in like 10 minutes of this movie, and apparently
it feels like a lot more.
Her speech impediment. She had her speech impediment wasn't like a put on. It was actually something physically going on with her, and she had operations because of throat cancer.
Oh yeah.
And apparently she died like 6 months after this movie came out. So she died in like 1988 or whatever.
Yikes.
So and but because of the effort and everything like that, she was nominated for Best Actress in a Supporting Role for this movie. So I don't know. She's over the top, so it's hard for me to say if she was good or not.
I actually thought she was funny just because she's very kind of vulgar and crass, and she cusses at Danny DeVito and slaps him and all this other stuff. I think all that stuff is funny.
Found her pretty grating.
I think it's funny. She lost to Olympia Dukakis, Moonstruck. What's up? A movie that I really, really enjoyed that we did back in January of this year. Yeah. So this movie is streaming on Showtime.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I do like to mention that I feel like I've been a little lackadaisical in noting whenever a movie is streaming, but I did because that's what I watched it on was Showtime.
Nice.
Yeah, I streamed it on Showtime, so it's streaming on there right now, and it is 64% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 54% audience, 2 thumbs down.
Oh,
Cisco Never did not care for
did
this
you
film.
did they do a?
I think that I don't know that I watched the review. I think I just kind of read. I think I read Ebert's review, and he just was basically like, "Yeah, this movie, it's got a lot of talent in it, but they just don't go anywhere with it. They just don't go, or they don't go enough places with it."
Yeah,
it's kind of what he thought. And Leonard Maltin, just like with Ruthless People, he only gave this 2.5 stars.
Yeah, 2.5 star Malton is what we call him.
2.5 star Maltin.
I wonder what his most common star review is.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I wonder if anyone's ever done that.
That's a good question.
Seen which one occurs the most.
Yeah.
Would that be Mode? The one that is the most frequent?
Most frequently occurring value, yes. Mode.
All right.
That's right.
So
You remember your statistics 101.
Yeah. That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah,
all right.
Same here.
Well, okay. So that was Throw Momma from the Train. On these Wednesday episodes, we like to answer viewers' questions. Since we're talking about 2 movies that star and have Danny DeVito in it, we decided to talk about Danny DeVito and his long career as an actor. I was surprised that his first role wasn't in Taxi. He did stuff before Taxi.
Yeah, he's been acting for a long. I mean, because he was in his 30s in the 1970s. I mean, he's born in 44 according to IMDb. So he's been around. The man's been around.
I would say one of my favorite roles for him is in Hercules, but I'm not going to say that's my favorite because he plays the fawn. I can't remember the fawn's name. That trains Hercules. And I like, you know me, my Disney animated movies.
Oh, yeah. So
Phil LaFawn.
So
do you want to call out any roles that he's done? And obviously people know him for the Penguin.
So yeah, which I can't stand Batman Returns, honestly, and I can't stand that character. He doesn't play a huge role in this film, but I do love me some Terms of Endearment. That's one of my favorite films of the 1980s. But I'm not going to pick that one just because he doesn't have a huge amount of screen time in that film. I'm going to pick a movie that really has a little bit more substantial screen time or screen time with an M. Screen.
So I guess I'll go because I have one.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go maybe a movie not a lot of people have heard of, but a movie I remember liking a lot fondly. I haven't seen it in a couple of years, probably over 10 years, but it's Renaissance Man. He plays a starring role in that, and it's basically he is I don't know if he's a teacher, but he's brought into this military base to help educate and these recruits are about to fail out because they just can't do it. They can't make it, I guess because they think they're stupid or whatever. And he goes in and he's it's one of those teachers that kind of motivates and inspires the students and stuff like that. And I remember really liking that movie and thought it was a really good role, and it's kind of heartwarming. So for me, it's Renaissance Man.
Yeah, I still struggle to remember if I've seen that or not, because I feel like it's one of those movies that was on cable back in the day quite a bit, but I don't know that I ever watched it all the way through. Not really sure, so maybe one I need to check out. For me, it is going to be, I think I picked this movie as my favorite. Maybe when we did A Few Good Men, we were talking about courtroom kind of stuff, and I probably picked this back then. But there's another cable staple from back in the late 90s that I feel like I watched seemingly every day because every time it was on, I think at HBO, I would make time to watch it just because I really, really dug it. It's The Rainmaker with Danny DeVito and Matt Damon based on the John Grisham novel, The Rainmaker. I just always thought that was a really crowd-pleasing, fun little courtroom kind of movie where, Matt Damon's trying to win a case and Danny DeVito's helping him. And John Voight plays a sleazy, slick lawyer that you just want to see get punched in the face, and you want to see him lose the case and all that stuff. So I always like The Rainmaker. But Danny DeVito's got a ton of movies, so it's hard to like pick because he's done some really cool stuff. But I'm gonna go with the Rainmaker.
I agree. Rainmaker's a great choice. All right, well, that's our favorite Danny DeVito movies. Why don't you let us know what your favorite Danny DeVito movies are? Leave it down below. Maybe it's one we mentioned. Maybe it's one we have not. Probably statistically, it's probably one we have not.
Yeah, he's done a bunch.
Is a bunch, over 100 roles.
Bunch, yeah.
So leave those down below. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that social media stuff with the episode. It really does help, and we really do appreciate it. And stay tuned next week when we watch some movies from my list of shame. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need a hand gesture.
One more week, and then after that is October.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So there you go. Looking forward to that. Some really fun stuff on that. So stay tuned because October's coming. It's going to be fun. And we'll see you next time, guys. Have a good one. Bye.